Welcome to Kouros Conversation. This is a podcast about society, governance, art, education, sciences, and in general, the way we live together. Welcome, Carissa.
Thank you.
Carissa Naidu is our first guest. You are a psychologist, industrial and organizational psychologist, and you have a long, over decades experience in the field of higher education and in several countries as well, like South Africa, Southeast Asia, and now also in the Netherlands. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'd love to. I am South African, as you mentioned, Kone, and I've been living in the Netherlands for 3 years now. During my time here, I've had many opportunities to engage with the community and contribute to the field of education. And I really feel like it's enriched my experience as a lecturer. And I'm happy to be here to share my experiences.
Okay, thank you. Now, my first question is, what is your personal drive in this field of psychology?
I think that my personal drive is connected because I studied psychology, but I work in the field of education. And I think what drives me personally is human-centered leadership. So when it comes to my students, putting the human being at the center of the experience, whether it's the student or the teacher or faculty or whatever it is, because I believe when you connect to the human behind the organization or the program or whatever it is, you're really able to lead with purpose. And I think that this is important, an important skill going forward in our world, like not just checking off boxes and studying material to write an exam, but what are we actually going to do with this in terms of contributing to our communities and societies at large?
Okay. If you look at education, it's brought us so much over the centuries. Without education, without learning, without innovation, we still would live like in the Stone Age. How do you see this?
I think, yes, education has transformed the way we live, the way we interact with each other, and it's changed us as people in so many ways. You know, it's more than, at its best, it does more than just transmitting knowledge and equipping people for the workforce. So I think that the way in which education has changed is that there's a lot of diversity in what we are taught these days. So, for example, the focus of education now is on 21st century skills, which is communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. And we call them the 4Cs in education, but these 4Cs are so important in driving future generations because it's so important that we're able to collaborate as opposed to compete. Like those systems are falling away now, the competition, the drive for power. Now it's about communities coming together to collaborate, to get creative, to critical thinking skills are so important in terms of like when we are educated with the skill, we're able to question systems and not just believe everything we're fed. Take the media, for example. The media feeds us what they want us to believe, right? Whether it's what governments want us to believe or what, societies want us to believe. But in order for us to be able to question, hey, is this right or is this wrong? We need the skills to be able to do that. So it's no longer, education has changed from just being like studying what's in a textbook and writing it in a test. Now the test is applying it to your colleagues, to your family, to your society. In what ways are you going to use this education to better everything around you, not just yourself?
We are talking about your personal drive, and you are talking very passionate about this. So I guess here is your personal drive to contribute to this. How do you see this? How can it improve society or improve lives or improve living together? You can say.
I think, like for example, education now includes information on like diverse history and cultures and perspectives. And when we engage with that as people, we're able to see perspectives that are different from our own. The way I grew up is very different from the way you grew up. And in order to acknowledge and understand and accept that there are other ways of living, this is what will bring us together to collaborate and make societies better. So I think in that aspect, it's so important. that now different perspectives are being taken into consideration in terms of the way we're educated. And societies are going to be better in future because we understand different people live in different ways. We will have the tools to accept it, and we'll be able to move on together. I'm South African, and in South Africa we say there's unity in diversity because there's so many diverse cultures and races, and our history was one of apartheid, so we're still healing from that, I would say. But in that, it's uniting us as a nation and helping us to drive our country forward in ways that our ancestors were not. They didn't have those opportunities. And this is all thanks to education. Now more women are stepping into the field of education, and it's more accessible to minorities, I would say.
Yeah. Education, except for like societal use, it's also a personal enrichment, you can say,
Yeah.
with all those diversity that you get to learn. And
Yeah, and I truly believe that working on ourselves makes, it heals the world, basically. So the more we work on ourselves, the more we're able to encourage and inspire and motivate others, not just in our own circle, but in societies. In now with social media and the internet, I could be sitting in the Netherlands, but inspiring someone in South Africa, for example, Oman, for example. So, our reach is so much further now. So by bettering ourselves, we are really able to, make the world a better place.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you are talking about 21st skills, and you mentioned the four seasons. Do you think, hey, we can go further in this way, or we are lacking at this moment something in? Is there something needed more than what we do now to improve further?
Absolutely. So, in terms of the four C's, I mentioned it's critical thinking skills, communication, collaboration, and creativity. And these things are being used in our education system. But I think what was lacking in our education system and what's like coming to the forefront now is human values. If I think back to my childhood, I think one of the best courses I've done was a course it was called Education in Human Values. And it was based on 5 human values. It was love, trust, peace, truth, nonviolence, and I think right conduct. But I think that these values really need to be brought forward into the education system in order for us to cultivate, for example, empathy for each other, empathy for other people's, situations in society. Like we may all live in one society, but our circumstances are different. And in order to collaborate and communicate and work together, we have to have empathy for each other, I think.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thought, and I want to come back to it later on. But first, I would like to talk about the role of the government and the conditions to develop an educational society, you can say. How do you see this role of government?
I think in terms of the role of governments, it's been a system of like policies and procedures and very rigid things. And in those systems, there's unfortunately, it's been driven by greed and power and things that no longer serve our societies. So we need to reconnect to the why. Like, why are we doing these things? So, for example, why do we want to educate our nation? Why does education need to be the forefront of our governance and policies? And the reason why is because it's going to benefit individuals. I believe that governments have, they're so far removed from what people on the ground need right now. And that connection needs to happen. Why do people need to be educated? Because it's going to better our society and our country as a whole eventually.
Government should be more aware of the needs, or the maybe not only the conscious needs, but also the way that people can flourish or bloom. And can you also take care for this yourself? For example, the way you live, that you are aware of this yourself by education, like a healthy lifestyle or these kind of things?
Yeah, so education, like, it contributes to our personal well-being as well as like the well-being of society and our country. For example, without an education, perhaps in terms of work, perhaps I would need to work 3 jobs to survive, living in the Netherlands, for example. And then maybe with a simple qualification, this gives me the skills to now have some work life balance. That means that I can work maybe one job, I can take care of myself, I can take care of my family, and I have more freedom and flexibility. So I think, in terms of our personal well being, yes, education can contribute to that because it's going to allow us the kind of lifestyle that we want to live in terms of having balance between work and home or family or hobbies or whatever is important to an individual.
I'm also curious because you are an organizational psychologist, but also industrial psychologist, and the organization we talked about it a lot about society, but the industrial part. Can you tell something more about this?
Okay, so I have lectured in the field of industrial and organizational psychology for the past 10 years, but I've also conducted a lot of research in this field. And I think the most important thing is bridging the gap between academia, so what we study, and what is happening in companies and organizations. And one of the studies I did on work life balance and employee experiences actually highlighted how millennials in the workplace, so this is the generation from about 1988 to about 1999. I think I could be corrected on that. But about how this generation particularly favors work life balance to the extent that they are willing to change jobs every 2 to 3 years to find that work life balance. Whereas generations before us stayed in a job for 20, 30 years, retired, and they were very happy to do that. So I think that this was a shifting point that highlights the emphasis of the importance of industrial and organizational psychology. So psychology in the workplace is important because we need to be taking, the world is changing, people are changing, and organizations need to change in the same way. It's happening very fast, just like how we had to adapt to, if you think back to the pandemic, when COVID-19 hit, we all had to adapt in terms of our jobs. As teachers, we went from teaching in the classroom to teaching online immediately. And it was a massive shift. And it's something that we could have probably not imagined before that. But we did it because we had to adapt to the change. So I think it's so important to take care of employees in terms of like the psychology behind their well-being in the workplace in order to get the most of them in terms of their experiences, their productivity, and also in order to take care of society as a whole. Mental health has become a very important topic, in terms of nurturing and taking care of our mental health in order to get the best out of students, employees, whoever it may be. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And do you see a lot of possibilities or opportunities to develop a more healthy society, more in the field of mental health as well, or that people can do it themselves?
Yes, I see a lot of possibility. This is one of the focuses of my business in the Netherlands, to focus on mental health workshops, with like creating spaces where people can come together, whether it's students, academics, people working in corporate organizations, spaces where they can come together in order to collaborate. I'd like to say collaborate, but also in terms of taking care of their mental health, like facilitating workshops, offering opportunities for them to get creative, because you know mental health is not something that you can just take care of on your own. Sometimes you need the outside assistance or the opportunity to just step outside of your comfort zone. And I think that these things are so important in society now, just creating spaces where people can come together and do creative things, work on maybe mindfulness, things like that. Because we're so, now that it's great that we're able to work remotely and do everything behind our computer screen, but human interaction is also so important. So I think it's good for communities to come together in terms of having activities to take care of mental health.
Yeah. Sometimes I have the feeling that we have a lot of knowledge in this field. You are expert in this as well, but at the same time, what do we do enough with this knowledge? Because if I look at the Netherlands, maybe now I don't know exactly, but let us say half of the Netherlands has a burnout of have a burnout. So do we do enough with it, in your opinion?
No, I don't think so. I think that, with the shift from like working in person to working remotely, has come for example, if you go to the office, you work from 9 to 5 and you leave. And when you go home, you do whatever you want to. But when you're working from home, you think, oh, let me just open my laptop after dinner and continue working. And so many people get stuck into this, just work, that they don't make the time. So the opportunities are there, but they don't make the time to do it. So when you offer them those spaces where they can just break away and go somewhere else to do it, I think that's good.
Yeah. Can you compare it with eating too much chocolate or drinking too much coffee?
It's like an addiction,
I don't know. Yeah.
I think so. It's kind of an addiction. Like, oh yeah, it's there. Let me just get some work done. The next thing you know, it's like scrolling on your phone, You just go to check a message and then like an hour later, you're like, oh, what have I done? Nothing much.
I would like to come back to the human values, because I also think this is very important fields to work on and to create awareness. I think education can help us, as you already told, to have more empathy, to have more compassion. Maybe also in the field of virtues like sincerity or justice or courage. Like human beings are like raw diamonds, and we have to. Education helps us to polish ourselves also.
Absolutely.
I have a feeling that education could help us to become better human beings.
Absolutely. Education does help us to become better human beings, but adding the element of human values to it will definitely add like another layer of enlightenment, I'd like to say. Because, we're also living in, like we said, the world is changing so quickly. I also feel like nowadays people are so focused on the next thing. Like maybe I'm doing something amazing now, but I'm already focused on what I'm going to do next. That I'm not really present and paying attention to what I'm doing right now because I'm like, okay, that's the goal and I'm going to get there. And I think that it's so important to be present in that journey because in being present, you're paying attention to what you're doing now. So for example, I'm having a conversation with you now, but I'm thinking of, oh, what's the next podcast going to be about? That's like, I'm not giving you the attention that you deserve, right?
Yeah.
So it's so important to just pay attention and be present where we are in order to give the best that we can, but also to get the most that we can. So like every experience is a learning experience. If you are present and you pay attention and you care about the project or the lecture or whatever it is that you're engaged in at that moment.
Yeah. By being present, you get the most.
You get the most of it, yeah. And I think that if that is added into our education system, like the element of human values and just being present and paying attention, I think that we could really raise amazing human beings in future generations because every generation is evolving to be better than the last. But I think these human values are so important in like grounding us almost.
This is what I would ask you about. If you, because I refer to the Stone Age, very far in the past. Do you like to give a view on the future, how it could be with education? You already did, but maybe.
Yeah,
more?
I think that the future of education is going to be very interesting with the introduction of AI. Students are no longer interested in sitting with textbooks, studying, writing exams. We have to bring an element of engagement to education. And that engagement is going to be being present adding human values, offering opportunities to develop critical thinking skills, opportunities to collaborate. I think the education space is going to be very different in the next 20 years because we are going to have to, we're going to have to change the way the system is in order to make the most of it. Because nowadays with AI, Kone, I can say I'm doing a course in financial management, okay? And then I get my assignment and I can put that assignment into AI and get all of the answers. So, how am I going to apply that? As educators, we have to think about how we're going to engage our students in order for them to make the most of this learning experience. So we're also still learning.
Wow, it sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
Because what you were saying, what I'm hearing, is also that AI can make us more human.
Yes.
We don't have to bother about all the fuss of learning details and so on, but we can focus on the human values.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carissa, for this very interesting interview about psychology and education. It's a very broad but also very interesting subject, and I think it can help us a lot further as a society. So I was very happy to have a conversation with you about this.
Thank you, Kone. I was really happy to be here, and it was nice chatting.